Hello. Happy hump day, everybody. Welcome to your detox twisty flow. We're going to be working on our thoracic spine today. So if you're unfamiliar with your thoracic spine, it's basically that portion of the spine that's stuck in between the shoulder blades, and it can be a little challenging to access. So once we get into our various positions, just really carefully listen to those verbal cues in order to get your body into that appropriate shape so that you can really get the twists to land. Lots of times your hips are going to kind of want to steal the twist, the shoulders might steal a little bit, so you're going to really work on keeping that body really square so that you can get really deep and really rinse out that area. So once you are ready, while people are trickling in, you can bring yourself into a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you on your mat. Rolling the flesh out from underneath your sit bones, or maybe you're kneeling or sitting on a blanket or a towel, whatever feels good. You can rest the palms on the knees, or maybe just take them in the lap, anything that feels comfortable. A moment to roll the shoulders up by the ears, and then let them slide down the back. Let's really work on that nice long spine, so reaching through the crown of the head as though you're being tugged by the crown of the head up to a ceiling with a string. And closing the eyes soft, relaxing the jaw. Give it a wiggle, let the tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. Soften through the gaze behind the closed eyelids, and just begin to observe your breath. Seeing where it is that your breath is flowing in and out from today. And if you notice that you're stuck up high in the chest, let's just start to drop it down lower. Breathing space down across the belly into the low portion of the pelvis, expanding through the areas between the hip bones. Tracing that breath up towards the ribs, separating the ribs with breath, and with the exhales, squeeze your core so that you can get some more of that stale air out from the lungs, creating a larger vacuum for your breath to just naturally flow into. And so as you're here playing around with these breath sensations, check in mentally, how do you feel today? There's no right or wrong way, of course, of how to feel, but do try to let go of any expectation or judgment so that you can just go with the flow today. So that means wherever you want work, you can take work. Wherever you want rest, you can take rest. And just trust that your body will tell you what it needs in those moments, trying to honor your body's cues. So with that, we'll come together for a united breath. First, cleansing the lungs with an exhale. Breathing in through the nose. And sigh out the mouth. Tucking the chin in towards the chest. Open the eyes with a couple of blinks. Bring the gazes back forwards. So make your way into your first tabletop shape. However you like to arrive is totally fine. Place the palms under the shoulders, the knees underneath of the hips, and spread the fingers wide. So you're pressing all 10 of those fingertips in towards the floor. First couple of rounds of cat-cow. So with your inhale, let the belly drop, taking the gaze and the tailbone up towards the ceiling. And then with your exhale, round the spine, tuck the chin in towards the chest, and focus on pressing the shoulder blades apart and up towards the ceiling. Inhale again, your belly will drop, the gaze comes forwards, the tail comes up. And again, exhale, round that spine. So you're already starting to explore that thoracic spine, that middle portion. From here, we're going to start to make some circles. So picture rolling your trunk around a stick in front of you so that you're finding those big rotations, big bends into the elbows, and just beginning to explore that space of the center of the body. Now switch up the direction, whatever you did on the last side. Let's try the other way and see how this other way feels. Notice if it's a little more awkward or maybe a little more ease in this way. And close the eyes and just begin to move, switching up the direction once more. Noticing what you feel, how big of a range of motion you can make. And again, switch up the direction one last time. Really exaggerate that cat portion of the movement. And coming back into a neutral spine. Find about a 50% cat back. So you're pushing that floor away from you slightly. Find that round in the shoulder blades. Keep all of that work and step the legs back for high plank. So in your high plank foundational strength here, pressing into the fingertips, pushing the floor away from you, belly nice and strong, thighs nice and active. Here for 5. Lots of breath. 4, 3, 2, and hips up and back. Downward facing dog. So in your first down dog, feet are hip width distance, so about 2 of your fists can fit between the 2 big toes, and you might pedal the feet, sway the hips, shake out the head, yes and no, let your head just be nice and heavy on the neck, keeping that gaze in between the toes or between the knees so that the neck stays nice and long and relaxed. And pressing into all 10 fingertips, pull in through that low belly, and then find stillness in this first downward dog. With your next inhale, lift your hips and heels high to the ceiling to stretch the arches of your feet. And then exhale, settle the heels back down towards the floor. This time with your next inhale, ripple forwards back into a high plank, shoulders stack over wrists. And with your exhale, pick up from the hips, downward facing dog. Good, 2 more like that. Inhale, rolling it forwards. Really nice. And exhale, roll it backwards. Think just like what an ocean wave looks like as you take an inhale to roll forwards, leading with a cat spine-like movement. And then exhale for the hips to come up and back in down dog. Good, this time with your next inhale, roll it forwards and set the knees down to the mat into tabletop once more. So you're gonna take the knees just a little bit wider and take the toes just a little closer together. So you're in kind of like this little half child's pose looking kind of position. Pressing firmly into the left palm. Take an inhale to sweep the right thumb up to the ceiling, broad across the chest. And exhale, thread the needle. So you're hovering the ear and the palm towards the floor. 2 more. Inhale, open up through the heart. And exhale, sweep it underneath. Last one we'll hold. Inhale, open it up. And exhale, thread to hold. So you can bring the ear down towards the floor. Now notice right away what your hips are doing. Very normal here for our right hip to want to come forward. So what we're gonna do is shift a little bit. So bring that right hip back and the left hip forwards. You should feel this a little bit more in the back when you adjust the hips. And you might stay here, or you can slide those left fingertips forwards to the top of your mat. So you're gonna feel a really nice squeezing sensation between the shoulder blades here. So work on squaring those hips to the front of your mat and pressing into the back of that right hand. If you have lots of space to play with, you might walk your fingertips towards the right on that left hand a little bit more. Here for 3. Lots of breath. Can you breathe into the upper back, that place of constriction? For 2. And for 1, carefully placing the left palm back down to the mat. Inhale, sweeps the right thumb back up to the ceiling, and then palm comes down. Just switching sides right away. Inhale, left thumb lifts, open up across the chest. Exhale, thread the needle, hovering ear and fingertips. Inhale, broad across the chest. And exhale, thread it underneath. Last one, inhale, open it up. And exhale, thread to hold. So again, here you're gonna rest the ear down to the mat, the back of that left hand towards the floor. And then check out what those hips are doing. So if you feel like you're shifted, you're gonna square the hips off to the front of your mat. That means bringing that right hip back and the left hip forwards. And if you have some more space to play with, then you might slide those right fingertips to the top of the mat and press really firmly into the back of that left hand. That's what's gonna give that really nice squeeze, that leverage. If you have more space, you might walk those right fingertips to the left side of the mat a little bit more. And just breathing into that upper portion of the back, seeing what you feel here for another 3. Another 2. 1 more breath in. 1 more breath out. Taking that right palm back down to the floor. Inhale, left thumb lifts up, stack it tall, and then palm comes down to the mat. From there, adjust the knees, curl the toes under. Let's send the hips back up and back, downward facing dog. So paddle it out, checking how things are feeling. Eyes the elbows slightly shifting forwards. And then first vinyasa with your next inhale, rippling it forwards into high plank. Belly stays strong as you lower halfway. Chest stays off the floor. Inhale, float the heart up, upward facing dog, tops the feet on the mat, and pull from the hips and the core to send it up and back. Downward facing dog, beautiful work. Big breath in, big breath out. Good, connect the big toes at the back of the mat. Inhale, right leg lifts, bend at the knee, kick that heel open to the bum. So right away, notice if that right shoulder wants to open up. See if you can square that right shoulder down with the floor and use the glute strength to lift that right knee nice and high. Take a big breath in. And exhale, cross the body, hold at the left elbow for this twist for 3. For 2,
Inhale to send it back, open up the hips, stack it nice and tall, and then exhale, step those right toes forwards and set the back knee down to the mat. So if you have sensitive knees, roll up that mat underneath of your knee. Keep the back toe curled under and inhale to rise up. Low lunge, so make sure the knees stay stacked over top of that ankle. Let the hips melt forwards, and then draw the arms into cactus. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. So already bringing some strength in between the shoulder blades themselves. If you'd like to play with more of a heart opener, take the elbows down just a notch and lift that heart up from the center of the chest, like you're trying to send the heart forwards and up to the ceiling for 3, for 2. Inhale, fingertips lift. Exhale, palms come down, framing the foot. Unroll that mat out from underneath of your knee. Rock the hips back into half split. So softness in that right knee. Right hip back in space, left hip forwards. Take an inhale, lengthen the heart. And exhale, soften down. So you can stay here, or if you like a little bit more, use your left hand and grab the pinky edge of that right foot. Take the right fingertips off to the side and give yourself a little rinsey twist towards the right. Keep that belly nice and flat, nice and long in the spine. One more inhale. One more exhale. Sole of the foot connects back to the mat. Curl the back toes under, lift the knee off the floor. Place your left palm down to the mat and take your right hand to the back of your the back of your head rather. From there, take an inhale, open up that right elbow towards the ceiling. Draw that right hip back in space and see if you can get lighter into those left fingertips. Here for 3. Right shoulder away from the ear for 2. And 1. Palms come down to the inside of the ankle. Drop that back heel. Spin to the long end of the mat. Take an inhale, lengthen the heart, placing that left palm to the floor. Inhale, send that right thumb up to the ceiling. So right away, notice if that right hip is shifting up and open. Work on dropping that right side down and lifting the left side up. Keep pressing firmly into that left hand for 3, for 2, and 1. Palm comes down to the mat. Walk the heart forwards back to the top of the mat. Tent the fingers just in front of the right toes. And without jumping, float the back leg up into your warrior 3. So you can stay here. You can bring your palms to heart center into prayer, or you can even interlace the fingers behind the back of the head and squeeze the elbows up and back. So really wing those elbows back, bringing strength into the shoulder blades. Keep the pressure very light on the back of the head for 3, for 2. Big bend to the knee to land those back toes. Send the fingertips up high, celebrate that landing. And exhale, palms come down to the mat, stepping back into high plank. Option to flow here. You can always use the knees to modify for support. You choose for you choose for your body. You skip any vinyasas that you don't need today. Once you're back in down dog, big breath in. Big breath out. Connect those big toes to the back of the mat. And inhale, sweep that left leg high, bending at the knee, opening up the hip. So stacking that left knee tall, squaring that left shoulder down. Press weight into that right heel. Take a big breath here. Exhale, cross the body, touch that right elbow with the left knee, hold for 3. Hips stay high for 2. Inhale to send it back. Open up the hips, stack it nice and tall, and exhale, step those left toes forwards, setting the back knee down. So reminder, if you have sensitive knees, roll up that mat underneath of your knee. Take an inhale to rise up, and exhale, settle the hips forwards in your low lunge. So you can stay, cactus the arms here, or if you want a little bit more, elbows down slightly, chest comes forwards and up. Pull those low ribs in, belly button protecting the spine for 3, for 2. Inhale, sends fingertips up to the ceiling. Exhale, palms come down to the mat. Unroll that mat, rock your hips back in a half split. So once you're in a half split, soft micro bend to that left knee. You can stay here or grab the pinky edge of that left foot with the right hand, left fingertips out to the side, and you'll give yourself a little rinse, but keeping the body nice and long, belly still connects with thigh. Here 3. Here 2. One more inhale. One more exhale. Sole of the foot connects back with the mat. Curl the back toe under. Place that right palm to the mat. Take the left hand to the back of the head. And inhale, sweep that left elbow up towards the ceiling. Scissor that left thigh back in space. See if you can get a little lighter into those right fingertips. Here for 3. Left shoulder down away from the ear for 2. And And one, both palms down to the mat. Drop the back heel, spin to the long end of your mat. I'm just going to turn around so that you can look at me. Take an inhale to lengthen the heart forwards. Placing that right palm down to the floor. Inhale, send that left thumb skyward. So right away, notice is that left hip opening up. Square the left hip down and pull the right hip up slightly. Push heavily into that right palm for 3, for 2, and exhale, palm comes down to the mat. Spin on the heel, surf your way back to the top of the mat, tenting the fingers in front of the left toes, floating that back leg up. Option to stay there. Options at hands at heart center, or option interlace fingers to the back of the head once more. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Shoulders down away from the ears. Strong square hips with the floor for 3. Good for 2. Big bend to the knee. Land those back toes. Send the fingertips up. High lunge. Exhale, palms come down to the mat. Step it back into high plank. Option to flow. Option to go back to down dog. Modify. Play with what you want to play with today. And once you're back in downward facing dog, take an inhale to ripple forwards, high plank. Set the knees down to the mat into tabletop. So keeping the bum up nice and high. I'm going to slide those palms to the opposite corners of the mat, bringing the forehead down to rest for puppy pose. So in your puppy pose, engage into the belly here. Pressing into the hands. Squeeze the shoulders down the back like you're trying to squeeze the spine in between the shoulder blades. Here for 3, finding breath calm. Here for 2. One more big breath in. One more big breath out. Carefully engage belly further. Bring yourself back onto hands and knees. Curl the back toes under and send the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Once you're back in down dog, check out how the shape is feeling. Big breath in. Big breath out. Your next inhale, bend at the knees, gaze forward, step or float to the top of the mat. And inhale, lengthens you out halfway. And exhale, forward fold, soft knees. Root to rise, sweep arms up, gazes up. And exhale, palms to heart center and down by the sides. Big toes connecting, heels falling slightly apart. Shoulders roll up the ears and down the back, palms facing forwards. With your next inhale, sweep the arms up, gazes up. Exhale, forward fold, soften knees. Inhale to lengthen, half stance, puff the heart. And exhale, palms connect to the mat. Step, hop, flow your way. Your version of sun salutation A. Whatever that looks like today is up to you. And once you're back in downward facing dog, hollow out the belly. Strong through the inner thighs. Pull up through the pelvic floor. Here for 3. Here for 2. And with your next inhale, bend at the knees, gaze forward, step or float to the top of the mat. Take an inhale to lengthen half stance. And an exhale to forward fold. Root to rise, sweep arms up, gazes up. And exhale, palms to heart center and down by the sides. So from here, big toes connecting, heels falling apart. Inhale, sweeping arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, palms come down to the mat, step or hop. Option to vinyasa or option to come back into downward facing dog. We'll all meet in downward facing dog eventually. So once you're back in your down dog, taking that full breath in and that full breath out. Inhale, right leg lifts, 3-legged dog. Toes turn down to the floor, squaring the hip with the mat. Strong, straight right leg. Take a big breath here. Exhale, touch the upper right portion of your arm. Here, 3. Here, 2. Inhale to send it back, 3-legged dog. And exhale, step those right toes forward. So scissor the thighs here, strong in the legs. Inhale, rise up into your warrior lunge. So big bend into that right knee, a little bend to the back of the knee as well, the back left knee. And interlace fingertips behind the back of the head. Squeeze the elbows and the shoulders back. Lift the heart up nice and high, finding your heart opener, your back bend, but really engaging those shoulder muscles. Here, 3. Here, 2. Inhale, send fingertips up. And exhale, palms come down. From there, drop the back heel, spin to face the long end of your mat once more, arriving in your wide-legged forward fold. Take an inhale to walk the heart forwards, placing your left palm down to the mat once more. Send that right thumb up to the ceiling. So you might stay here if this feels like enough. Working on right hip dropping down, left hip pulling up. If you have more space, then you might take a half bind. Hug onto the left hip crease with the right hand. Pull it up slightly. You can stay here, or you can grab the outside of that right ankle with your left hand and rinse yourself out in opposite directions. A lot like a dish rag, just trying to get all the water out of the spine. Here 3. Here 2. And carefully unwind. Take an inhale to lengthen that spine forwards. And exhale, spin on the heels, surf your way back to the top of the mat. Tent your fingers just in front of those right toes and float the back leg back into your warrior 3. So from here, fingertips of the left hand stay pressing down to the floor. Take an inhale to send that right thumb up to the ceiling. So you're in a twisted half moon here. Lots of strength required. Maybe if you have the extra strength to play with, float the bottom fingertips up off of the floor. If not, that's totally fine today too. Here for 3. Here for 2. Very, very carefully take the right fingertips down to the floor. Start to turn the left toes out to the side, sending those left fingertips up to the ceiling. Get nice and strong through that bottom leg. Here for 3. Here for 2. How slowly can you step back into your warrior 2? Take your time to find your feet. Arrive in the shape, reaching through those opposite fingertips. Sit low into that front thigh. Take an inhale, flipping up the palm. And exhale, dance it back, exalt. Inhale, coming forwards, warrior 2. Exhale, reach up and over. Inhale, coming forwards, warrior 2. Exhale, dance it back, really lighten that back arm. Last one, inhale, come forwards, pause. Exhale, reach up and over. This time, inhale, coming forwards to pause. And exhale, palms come down to the mat. Step or hop back to high plank, option to flow, option to send it back. Modify as you need. And once you're back in down dog, take a big breath in. Big breath out. With your next inhale, ripple forwards into high plank and slowly lower all the way down to the belly. So once you're down on the belly, just pretend I'm laying on the mat just like you are. Open up your arms like a capital T. So both of your palms are facing flat to the mat. And then take your right ear to the floor. So your gaze is coming off to the left. Bend the left elbow, placing that left palm by your left ribs. Palm faces down to the floor. Point the left toes up towards the ceiling. And from there, you're going to push into that left palm to roll right on over that right shoulder. So, a couple options. You might stay here. This might feel like enough. You might send those left fingertips up to the ceiling, if that feels good. Or take the left hand onto the left hip and use it to help squeeze the shoulders back. Once you have that really nice compression, work on breathing space into the upper back. Can you manipulate those muscles that are being compressed here in this movement? Here for 3. Slowing the breath, calm for 2. And one more inhale. And one more exhale. Very carefully rolling back down into your belly. We're just switching sides right away. So this time, expand your wings, taking that left palm down to the floor. Take your left ear to the mat, so you're gazing the opposite way. Bring that right hand onto the floor, palm facing down by your ribs. And from there, right toes point up to the ceiling. Press into that right palm to roll right on over that left shoulder. So sole of that right foot comes over towards the left. And you might play with the fingertips up to the ceiling, or you might play with the hand on the hip. Try to avoid a half bind only because typically it rolls our shoulder head forwards, and we really want to get that really good squeeze. So trying to get that right shoulder blade back in space. Close the eyes, just find your breath here. Letting go, finding softness. Here for 4. Here for 3. 2. One more breath in. One more exhale. Very carefully rolling back down onto your belly. Bring the palms in by the sides. Curl the toes under, palms pressing down to the floor, shoulder blades squeeze, pressing all the way up into high plank and up and back into downward facing dog. Checking out how the shoulders feel. Take a big breath in, big breath out. And with your next inhale, left leg lifts, three-legged dog. Toes turning down to the floor, squaring that hip with the mat, pressing weight into that right heel. Take a big breath in. Exhale, touch the upper left arm bone, holding there for 3, for 2, and inhale to send it all the way back, three-legged dog. Exhale, step those left toes forwards. So scissoring the thighs, rising all the way up into your warrior lunge. Interlace fingers, opposite lace with the hands. Squeeze the elbows, the shoulders back, lifting that heart up. Really focus on squeezing an imaginary pencil between those shoulder blades. Here for 3. Good, here for 2. Inhale, sends fingertips up. Exhale, palms come down. Drop the back heel, spinning to the long end of your mat. Walking the heart forwards, right palm presses to the floor. Left thumb sweeps up, staying here or reaching around for that right hip crease, tugging the right hip up. Staying here or clasping the outside of your right ankle with your left ankle with your right hand. The more you bend into the elbow, use the bicep. The more you bring the belly towards the thigh, the deeper the stretch is for the shoulder as well. Here for 3, for 2, and inhale, coming carefully, unwinding. Spin on the heels, surfing your way to the top of the mat. Tent the fingers just in front of the left toes. Float that right leg up, right fingertips stay pressing down to the floor. Strong straight right leg as you send that left thumb up to the ceiling in your revolved half moon. So in your revolved half moon, playing around with it. If you have the strength, maybe floating those bottom fingertips. Here 3, here 2. Carefully placing those left fingertips down, turn the right toes out to the side and slowly extend those right fingertips. Really nice in your classic half moon here. For 3, for 2. Seeing how slowly you can land your warrior 2. Find your feet, find your stance, reaching through those opposite fingertips, sit low to the thigh. Take an inhale, flipping up the palm, and an exhale, dance it back. Good, inhale, coming back forwards, warrior 2. Exhale, reach up and over. Inhale, coming back forwards, legs staying steady. Exhale, dance it back, weights really light in that back palm. Inhale, coming forwards, and exhale, reach up and over. This time, inhale, come all the way forwards, warrior 2, and exhale, cartwheel the palms down to the mat. Step back into high plank, option to flow, option to go back to down dog. Choose for you. And once we're back in down dog, big breath in, big breath out. With your next inhale, bending at the knees, gaze forwards, step or float to seated, onto the bum. Extending the legs in front of you. Make sure you have enough room behind you to roll down. Reaching the fingertips forwards and take a nice slow melt. Vertebrae by vertebrae, coming down, down, down to the floor. And whenever the shoulders touch, no rush. Reach those arms behind you. Give yourself a good solid inhale to stretch. And an exhale to relax. Take the knees in towards the chest. And just have a little wave from left to right. Massaging out the tailbone, the sacrum, the lower portion of the lumbar spine. And then take the knees closer together and tighten up those circles. Maybe lift head and shoulders up. See how it feels to hit more of the middle of the back. Good. And then once you're here, I'm going to open up the arms like a capital T, palms facing up to the ceiling. Take your toes down to the mat for a second. Lift the hips up off the floor. Shift them to the left and set the hips back down. Then shift the shins back to parallel with the ceiling. Take an inhale here. And exhale, let the knees fall towards the right. So once the knees fall towards the right, if you wish for a little more intensity in this twist, you can either stay here or you're going to draw that right thigh back. Take the left hand and grab that left foot and rinse yourself out in this twist, gazing the opposite direction of the knees. Really nice. So you get a little more of a quad stretch here. If you want to get a little bit more depth into your thoracic spine, make a fist with your right hand. Bend at the elbow so the fist is pointing up to the ceiling, and then push that elbow and that fist back down towards the floor so that your left shoulder can get a little more leverage to drop. So this is the deepest version of the thoracic spine twisting we've done today. Now that you're nice and warmed up, hopefully you'll have a little bit more room to drop a few more millimeters. Turn your gaze over towards the left as well. Here, another 3. Big slow breaths, find your calm for 2. And 1. Very carefully unwind, release that bottom foot. Open the arms back like a capital T. Engage the belly, squeeze those legs, and draw the knees back towards the midline. Take the knees in towards the chest once more, and let's play the happy baby. Just open everything up. Soles of the feet up to the ceiling. If the bottoms of the feet aren't available, reach for ankles, backs of calves, thighs, whatever feels good. And just have a rock from side to side. Let it all go. Coming into our last side. So gather those legs together. Take the toes down to the mat for a moment. Open up your arms like a capital T, palms facing up. Lift the hips up off the floor, shift them to the right, and then set them down. Once they're down, shift the shins so that they're parallel with the ceiling, connect it together, and then let the knees fall to the left. So turning your gaze towards the right now, you can stay in this version of a twist, or if you're coming a little further, you're going to draw that left thigh back, using your right hand to grab onto that left foot, and really working that twist from this angle. So you can stay here, or make a fist with your left hand, bend at the elbow so that the fist is pointing up to the ceiling, and then push the elbow back down to the floor, and you should have some more leverage there to really let that right side drop. And this side might be a totally different experience in a twist than that last side was. So just taking note of our body. Every day is a new adventure, especially in quarantine. I feel like I favor my right side a lot more when I'm on the couch all the time. So my right side gets a little more tight than my left side. Who would have thought, you know? Good. Here for another 3. Slowing it down. Here another 2. And 1. Very carefully release that bottom foot. Open up those arms like a capital T. Squeeze those legs. Let's draw them back towards the center. Taking the arms, wrapping them around the shins. Just have a little rock from side to side, letting go of any ickiness that you might have caught in that spine. Take a big breath there. And then exhale, expanding into your rest, into your Shavasana. So straight legs, bent knees, whatever feels good. Roll those shoulders underneath of you. Get that little squeeze between the shoulder blades. Get that broadness across the chest. Tuck the chin in slightly and close the eyes. Softening face and jaw, letting go of the work that you've done over this last half an hour. And coming into stillness, a really important part of the practice. Stillness is where our body gets to make sense of all of that information that we gave it over the last 30 minutes of practice. So staying here for as long as you like, taking these moments of rest, trying to observe your breath and your heartbeat and that little dance that they play with one another. A time to thank the universe within for working so hard to keep you going from day to day. So again, feel free to stay here as long as you like. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you got what you needed from practice today. Namaste. Be well. See you again.